We know that animals are very good for our mental health. Just having them around, interacting with them, it slows us down. We get on to animal time, which is really, just can take anxiety out of a day, and it brings a smile to everyone's face.
Welcome to the Pawsome Companion, where pets are part of our family. I'm your host, Joanna Herrera, the founder of Coco and Bone Diet. I'm very excited to interview experts and pet owners to share their stories and insights so you can use them to take care of your babies. Hi Caroline, how are you?
I'm very well, Johanna. How are you?
Very well. So can you introduce yourself, please?
So I'm Carolyn Jones, and I'm the Media Relations Manager for the RSPCA in South Australia.
So first tell me, do you have pets? I know that you got King with you today.
I've always had pets almost all of my life. So at the moment I've got 3 cats and 2 dogs, and all of them, of course, adopted from the RSPCA.
That's amazing. So how do you manage to have like 3 dogs, 2 dogs and 3 cats? Like, do they go well? Or?
Yes, and 3 children as well. So it's a crowded household. Yes, it's a crowded household, but it's a very happy household with all the animals around, and our lives kind of revolve around their care. It's really lovely for children to be growing up with all these animals, and they're just a lot of fun to have around. The cats love the dogs. The cats like to groom the dogs, which is pretty funny.
God. That's cute.
They're always thinking they need a bit of help with their coats, so the cats get to work on the dogs. The dogs kind of sit there and put up with it.
Okay, do it. And they love it, I imagine.
Yeah, I think they do. I think they all take comfort in being with each other. And we didn't get them all at once, of course. They've all come in individually, but I got a lot of advice from my colleagues, the people who know a lot about introducing animals to each other, about how to bring them in, and so that it was harmonious, that it didn't cause any stress for the existing animals in the household. And now they all just get along beautifully.
Yeah, because I know in the past I used to have, like when I was back in Colombia, I all my life had dogs, and I always had one, and we used to bring another one, and that one was like jealous the first months. He was like sad, jealous, but then they become the best friends.
That's right. Yeah, it can take a little bit of time, and sometimes animals, they're all unique and they've all got their own personalities, and they won't necessarily get along with each other, but they might just tolerate each other. Yeah, so we do have 2 cats that, they're really not overly fond of each other, but they'll just put up with each other.
Yeah. So how old are they?
Oh, the animals are different ages. So he's 3 years old, and my other dog Buddy is 7. Then I've got 2 cats that we adopted, both of them as kittens, and they're both 3 years old. And then we've got a very naughty cat, the latest addition to the household, whose name is Clarence.
Okay.
And he's about 1 year old.
Oh, why he's naughty?
Well, he wants attention, but then he gets overexcited with the attention, so he'll swipe us. And if I bend down, if he's on something high and I bend down, he likes to smack me on the head.
God.
Yes,
really?
He's very funny. You just have to watch out for him. He's just he doesn't know how to interact with people or other cats really. He's like a awkward teenager.
Okay.
I think that's how I'd best describe him at the moment. I'm hoping he grows out of it.
That's cute. So I reckon, like, how do you organize yourself to take out for walks your pets, like in particular the dogs?
That's right. They do need a lot of attention. It's a lot of work to look after that many animals. So luckily, again, I'm not on my own. So my husband walks them in the morning, takes them for a lovely long walk in the park and lets them off. And they sometimes will go to a dog park. And if it's, looking like the dogs are going to be okay for them to play with, then he'll let them off there. And then I walk them in the evening. So they get 2 walks a day. And somebody's home most of the time as well, so they're not on their own.
That's good, because they honestly, when I leave my dog at home, he gets like sad, and he doesn't eat at all during the day because I'm not in there.
Yes.
So I'm like always like worried because I leave him alone.
Yes, no, we really love it when people tell us that they're able to take their dogs with them to work. Not all dogs want to be in a workplace, but a lot of dogs love to just lie under the desk with us and, just go out for a lunch walk with us.
So that you do that in RSPCA?
We were doing that. At our new premises, we can't bring dogs in so easily because it's a lot more open plan. But at our previous place of employment, we were able to do that because we didn't have so much traffic coming through.
Yeah.
But we certainly do, on occasion, we have animals that are in our care that we want to get them used to being around people. It might be a cat, it might be a dog. And so those animals will come into an office with somebody if it's not in the open plan section, but into an office so they can have some company.
Yeah, and there is so much fun and joy to bring a pet to work.
Yes, it is. It's really nice. Yeah. It's good for everybody. I think it's really, we know that animals are very good for our mental health. Just having them around, interacting with them, it slows us down.
Yeah.
We get on to animal time, which is really, just can take anxiety out of a day and it brings a smile to everyone's face. So, yes, if we can have animals around us, I'm in the perfect environment because if I need a fix with animals and I'm not working from home, I just go for a wander down into the cats and I can sit inside with one of the cats and have a cuddle. So, it's very, very lucky.
Sort of breed is King.
So
he's an adopted dog, right?
He is an adopted dog. He came in with 7 puppies and with his mother, and he came from what we'd call a backyard breeder. And this was an individual who had actually been prosecuted in the past, and then she had continued to breed dogs in conditions that weren't good. And she's now prohibited from owning dogs as a result of the conditions in which these animals were being kept. But very happy to report that, all of the puppies, all 7 puppies that came, with King being one of them, and the mother were all adopted, all found new homes. And the thing with that is, with these kind of low welfare operations that we call puppy farms or poor quality backyard breeders, it's the mother dogs that are the ones that are the worst off because the puppies, they kind of escape. They get to be adopted, but it's the mother dogs that are being used over and over and over again as breeding machines, really. So very, very happy that his mother, who was a Samoyed, was adopted, found a wonderful home.
Oh my God, that's really good. That's good. And he's a big boy now.
He's a big boy.
3 years old now,
That's right. That's right. He is. And he takes a lot of grooming. I've never had a dog that needs so much grooming. So I'm always saying to everybody in the household, have you brushed King? He needs a brush, because if you don't stay on top of it, not only will his coat get matted, but it means a lot more vacuuming. A lot of vacuuming in our house.
I reckon it should be the thing. Like in my case, my dog is very short hair, but his hair everywhere.
Yeah.
So I
multiply that by 100.
I multiply by 5, which is like the cats and the dogs. Yes. That would be a lot.
It's a lot of hair. Yes, you don't want to have any fur allergies in our house, I'm afraid.
Yeah, absolutely.
We do try and keep on top of it, but it's a battle.
Absolutely. So now tell me a little bit more about RSPCA. What do you do there, and what RSPCA does in terms of adoption and fostering dogs?
Yes. So RSPCA, it stands for Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. And so a core part of our work is done by our inspectorate. So the inspectorate is a team of inspectors who are like the animal welfare police. They are charged to prosecute the Animal Welfare Act. So they do the investigations into potential breaches of the Animal Welfare Act. And then if they've got enough evidence, then that can result in a court case and charges being laid, obviously, and potentially a prosecution. So that's the sort of what distinguishes us from other rescue organisations, is that we've got that legal enforcement role in addition to the rescue and care role. So apart from the inspectorate, we also have rescue officers, and some of them are volunteers, and they go out and do exactly that. They'll be rescuing animals that have got themselves into difficult predicaments. So it might be a cat stuck down a drain, or a dog that's stuck in a fence, or all sorts of things that they'll go out to. And then those animals will be brought in and get the veterinary treatment that they need, and hopefully the animal will be microchipped so that it can be returned to its owner.
Okay, so in this case, if they get lost, they can be returned to their owners.
That's right. Well, in South Australia, under the Dog and Cat Management Act, all dogs and cats are supposed to be microchipped and desexed. And it's really, really critical that both of those things do happen, because with desexing, particularly with cats, we've got a chronic cat overpopulation issue in South Australia. So if people don't desex their cats, we're getting all these unwanted litters of kittens, and all the shelters are struggling to rehome all of these kittens. And then with microchipping, well, if your animal, your cat or your dog wanders off your property and it has no identification, it's very hard to return them, particularly cats. A lot of cats aren't microchipped, but there's been some lovely stories where cats that have been missing for years have been reunited because they've had a microchip. It's really incredible.
Yeah, it's great to have that opportunity to have your pet protected in the way that get lost or something.
That's right. Yeah, microchip is the foolproof way to have identification on your animal, because you might have a collar, but they might lose their collar or the tag might come off. So microchipping is definitely the way to go, and a legal requirement.
Yeah. Okay. And in regards to the adoption side, so what are the things that you do in terms of adopting? Like people just go and so I heard that sometimes people go and drop the animals when they don't want them anymore. That is a case?
That sometimes will happen. So that's when people will surrender an animal because they can't care for it any longer. And there might be a lot of reasons for that. They might have gone into residential care, for example, or they might be moving interstate and unable to take their animal with them. A lot of times people have struggled to get rental accommodation that allows pets. So we're very glad that the Residential Tenancies Act has been amended to try to make it easier for people with pets to get accommodation, because they were being discriminated against by some landlords. We hope that that's going to change that situation. They might also just be struggling to afford to care for the animal, or they might be physically unwell and not able to care for it. So all sorts of reasons. There's never any stigma attached for us for people surrendering an animal, because they're trying to do the right thing by that animal. But we are limited with the number of animals that we can take in that are surrendered, because with the inspectorate and the rescue team, they're bringing in a lot of animals, and we have to prioritise the care of those animals. So we don't always have the capacity to accept a surrendered animal. It's not always easy for us to. And we also have contracts with some councils where we provide the rehoming care and rehoming service for the stray dogs and cats in their areas. So we have to prioritise our resources in terms of both the accommodation space and the personnel to provide the care for those animals. And then if we can, we'll take in surrendered animals. But I would add, though, if it's an emergency situation,
of course,
we will do our utmost to try to take that animal in, or find an alternate rescue organisation that can help us.
Do you have a number of animals that you bring a month, for example, from those situations?
Those sources, yeah. At any one time, well, at the moment at our animal care centre, we've got about 240 animals, but in care in total across the state, we've got about 580. So we're fluctuating between about 580 to 650 animals at the moment in care across the entire state. So some of them might be in our animal care centre at O'Halloran Hill. A few of them might be in our regional centre at Whyalla, only just a handful. It's not a very big place. But a lot of them, about half of our animals, are in foster care. So that's where these are people who have volunteered to care for an animal, and we provide we cover all the costs. So we cover all the costs of all the food, all the veterinary care, provide all the advice, and we just, with these people, they're providing a loving home, which is absolutely fantastic, because it's much better for an animal to be in a really good foster home, even if it's only a temporary home, than it is for them to be in a shelter environment.
So what are the requirements that you ask to someone who wants to foster a dog or a cat? Is there any particular things that you are looking for from a person or a house?
Yeah. So it really does depend on what they're looking to foster, what kind of animal. So if it's a dog, then they would need to have a well-fenced yard.
Okay.
If it's a big dog who's known to be a bit of a jumper, a bit of an escape artist, then those fences might need to be quite high. They need to have time, really. I suppose this is where people need to sort of think of their own lifestyles and think, well, do I have the time to invest in this dog? Because there's no point if they're going to take a dog that is needing a bit of one-on-one attention. Maybe the dog is recovering from surgery, or maybe the dog is recovering from a situation of neglect and it's needing that kind of investment of time to recover trust. So you need to be able to have that time to spend with the dog, invest in maybe some force-free training, which is the kind of training that we recommend, where you reward the good behaviour and you ignore the bad behaviour. That's, putting it very simply, that's the kind of training that we support. If it's a cat, an ability to contain the cat so that it doesn't go wandering around the neighbourhood. And this can be a bit tricky for people, but a lot of people have come up with really terrific ideas where they've got a cat door and it leads to an enclosed outdoor space, so the cat's getting outdoors a bit. Or maybe you've got a nice sunroom, as long as the cat's able to get enough space to play and to get a bit of sun. And we do support trying to contain your cat to your property, particularly at night, because that's when they're most at risk if they're wandering around at night. So in answer, that's a long answer, but in answer to it, a lot of people are suitable as foster carers, and I'd say the best thing to do is to go online and fill in the form, just register interest. That doesn't lock you into anything. And when you register your interest, then you can have a look at all the animals that are available to foster, because the animals that you look at online are the ones available to adopt. Some of them are also available to foster. So because we're so keen to get them into homes, so a lot of our dogs in particular are available to foster as well. But when you go register as a foster carer, you see a lot more animals. You might be seeing, for example, animals that are the subject of an ongoing investigation or an ongoing case that's before the courts. And so they're what we call prosecution hold animals, and they also go into foster care.
So regarding to this fostering dogs, so what you do is, like, when people foster those dogs, do they have a requirement to have them for a specific period of time, or they have to have them until someone adopts them, or how does it work with the lead time?
There's no time restrictions. So if you're able to provide respite for a week, or you're able to provide it for several months, we are very grateful for that. It's just good for our dogs in particular to get out into a home, because sometimes when they're in that shelter environment, their behaviour can deteriorate because they're just not getting that one-on-one attention that they need. No matter how good the care is that we provide, it's still institutionalised care. It's never as good as a loving home. So we're really flexible, and people might foster a dog and then they might go on holidays and they can't take the dog. So they'll bring the dog back, and if the dog's still not available to adopt, or we're having to hold on to it for some other reason, then they might come back from holidays and still want the dog, and we'll send the dog back to them. So, we're very, very flexible. We want to make it work, because when we do, that's the best thing for the animals.
Yeah, and I heard that there are so many people that foster dogs and they ended up adopting them.
That's right. That's a lovely outcome, because even if you foster an animal and it's not yet available to adopt, eventually it might become available. It might be that the court case, for example, finalises and those animals are forfeited to us by the court. And so those animals are then available to adopt. And a lot of animals that are fostered become what we call foster fails. Very happy outcome for everyone when that happens. I can certainly remember one case where the previous owner was being prosecuted for some quite serious neglect of a dog. And we were really really hoping that the court would not allow this individual to get this dog back. It's obviously we don't have power over what the court decides. And I'll never forget when that owner was told that this dog had been relinquished to us and that she could therefore adopt it. And she burst into tears. She was just sobbing. She couldn't believe it because she was so attached to this dog. So, it is a bit of an emotional journey, often fostering an animal, because with those cases, there's not necessarily a guarantee that the animal would be available to adopt. But most cases where an animal is fostered, almost all of them, that animal will eventually be available to adopt.
That's amazing. And I imagine people, some of them, when they are never had like a pet, they want to foster to make sure that they are aware and of all the things that are involved of taking care of an animal as well.
Yes, it's a really good way to give pet ownership a trial run, is to foster an animal. Because, well, first of all, you're not forking out any money for that animal's care, so you can get a sense of what's going to be involved in actually financially looking after that animal. And also you've got all of the experts in our organisation on tap to ask questions, so you can learn about, well, what does it take to keep a dog, a cat, a rabbit, a guinea pig, all these animals that are available to foster occasionally. So what does it take to keep those animals happy and healthy? The happiness side of things is what people don't always understand. You can keep animals healthy, but not necessarily happy. And by that I mean it's about enrichment. It's about, if we don't sit a child in a barren room, leave it there all day and think that child's had a good day. We give that child toys, we give that child playtime, we take that child out and we give them a world. There are similarities. These are sentient beings, intelligent creatures, and they every bit need that kind of stimulation. Otherwise, it's a very boring, lonely, isolated life, and too many animals do live like that.
Yeah, and there are so many animals that behave like crying or they damage things in the house is because they are not stimulated enough.
That's right, they're bored. They're just bored.
People think like, oh, what I'm going to do with this animal if it's behaving in this way. But it's not. It's actually happening because they don't give them the attention and
that's right.
The walks, the toys, the things that they should keep giving them.
Absolutely. I mean, puppies are particularly destructive.
Yeah.
And you might give them toys, but they still will chew up your best boots. I mean, that's just a puppy being a puppy, and you can't ever be angry at them. It's like, to be angry at an animal that does that is like being angry at a toddler. They're just young and they don't understand, and they need stimulation. They need toys. They need things to chew on, and they need to be with us. And I think that's a really big thing, is dogs in particular just want our company. So where we can give that to them, it makes for a much happier dog and a much less destructive dog as well.
Yeah, that's totally true. I see the same thing with my dog. Like, he's super active, but when I take him for walks, when I give him like toys or things to keep him entertained, he just get excited and he just relax. And even that he keeps like very excited because he's a puppy, but he just, like he understands that, okay, he needs to, relax a little bit, and he does it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Things have really changed. A lot of people have understood this. I mean, when I was growing up, you had a dog, you shoved it in the backyard.
Exactly.
It had its water, it had its shelter. There's the dog. We've got the family, we've got the kids, now we've got the dog in the backyard. We're set, that's done. And that's just not how it should be, and not how it is most of the time now. I mean, our animals are very much part of our families now. They're inside with us, they're on the couch with us, they're on beds with us sometimes. I mean, every household's different. Or they're lying in their bed next to our couch or next to our bed, and they're with us, and they're going on holidays with us. So they're much more integrated in our lives, and that's much better for them. They are much happier animals when that happens. And I'd say this, I'm talking about dogs and cats, but I mean, I've had quite a steep learning curve since I've started working at the RSPCA. I thought I knew a reasonable amount about animals. But as an example, I didn't know much about rabbits. And when I was growing up, I had 2 rabbits. They were in a hutch and they were in the backyard. And I would go and I'd feed them, and I'd occasionally take one out and cuddle it, and I'd put it back in the hutch. And I'd move the hutch around the lawn so it kept the lawn down. That's how my rabbits lived. knowing what I know about rabbits and how intelligent they are and the kind of lives they should live, I'm horrified that I did that now. I see people with their rabbits that live with them inside. They have access to outdoor runs. They lie on the couch with them and watch the TV with them. I kid you not, it's just incredible. And I think what I've learnt, among many things, is that animals are limited only by our lack of understanding of them. And when we start to understand them, they start to behave in their natural behaviours that are just amazing. And I've said to my husband, when we don't have dogs or cats for a while, I want rabbits, because I love these animals. They're so intelligent, so entertaining.
Yeah.
Much more than anything I'd ever imagined when I had them as a child.
Yeah, we got another speaker before, and she was talking about a rabbit. She got a rabbit and a dog, so she tried to keep them separate, but she says that she loves having a rabbit around because it's so smart and at the same time fragile and cute.
Yes, yeah, so, they are, and they're a prey animal. So I would never have one if I had a dog. I don't think it'd be very hard to keep them separated. But they love to be together. That's the other thing with rabbits and guinea pigs. You should always have two. They're they don't really like to be on their own most of the time. So when we adopt out rabbits and guinea pigs, we tend to adopt them as what we call bonded pairs. So they go together.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good to know as well.
Yeah.
Because some people will say, I want a single rabbit, but if they go along better with another one,
much happier.
And it will make your life easier sometimes.
That's right. Yeah.
Because you have a rabbit that is taking care of the other one as well.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, they're much happier to be together.
That's good. So in terms of the adoption, what are the things that are required for people to keep in mind before they adopt an animal?
So when you're wanting to adopt, think about what your lifestyle is like. So how much time do you have? How's that animal going to fit in with your usual routines? Who's going to look after the animal when you go away? Are you going to be able to take the animal with you on holidays? Is there anybody in the household who isn't happy about getting the animal? So it's really important that everybody has a discussion who's in the household about getting an animal, and it's not a surprise. We certainly don't like it if people go, I'm going to get my daughter a surprise cat. That's not the way to do it. I mean, you're talking about a sentient creature. It needs to be a discussion that everybody's on board with and says, yes, we all want to have this dog, cat, rabbit, guinea pig, whatever it's going to be, and who's going to look after it, who's going to make sure it has a good life and a happy life. You know, everybody needs to be invested. And I really think, and I know a lot of people would agree with me who have pets and children, is that having pets really does instill a sense of responsibility in children, and also all those really good human qualities like empathy and kindness and compassion, because you have to learn how to be gentle and to make sure that the dog is groomed and the cat is fed and they've got fresh, clean water every day. And children learn this stuff. And if they can learn it from a young age, then they can have respect for animals all their lives.
And they learn as well to be responsible because they know that they have to care for someone else.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's a really good. And just for children's mental health too, it's really good. It's really good. You know, if they're having a bad day, they can come home and they can cuddle the dog, and you know, it can relieve a lot of stress and anxiety. And a lot of children, you know, school can be really hard, really hard.
What other things are positive around adopting pets?
There's so many positives with having animals. It's well proven that having pets is good for our mental well-being, and it's good for our physical well-being because we've got a dog that needs to be walked every day. So if people are interested in adopting an animal, I think really the best thing to do is to look at some of the information online about, if you're looking at a dog, maybe look at some different dog breeds and what kind of needs that they have. And then have a look on our website and have a look at the animals that are available to adopt. We also have what's called the RSPCA knowledge base, and that's got some absolutely brilliant information about animal care. So you find out how to care for a dog, how to care for a rabbit, whatever it's going to be that you're thinking of adopting. And then come into our animal care centre if you've seen a dog or a cat that you're interested in, or if you just want to have a look at the animals that are available. Come in and meet some of the animals, and talk with our staff and maybe consider, if you're not quite ready to take that step of adopting, maybe consider fostering instead.
And another question is like, when the dog or the cat or any animal gets adopted, do you give them support during the first months of adoption?
Yes, so after an animal has been adopted and fostered, there's lots of checking in to make sure that that's working out. And so if people are struggling with settling an animal in, our staff are on hand to provide advice on making it work. Animals don't immediately settle in. The cat that you bring home isn't necessarily going to sit on your lap straight away and start purring, because they're going through a big change in life. You know, you're not familiar to them. The environment's not familiar to them. And so animals really need a lot of time to settle in at their own speed. And the staff will give you a lot of advice on making sure that that transition from a shelter or from a foster home into your home is as seamless as possible, because we want these adoptions to work. It's a win-win for the animals and for the people who are adopting them. And most of our adoptions do work because we have those conversations with people to make sure that they're going into it with eyes wide open. They know what's involved.
That's great. That's great to let the people understand and know what are the requirements around, so they are completely aware of what is coming when they adopt animals.
That's right.
Which that's great.
Absolutely. Yes. And we love to get all the photos from people after adoptions of all the happy homes that they've gone to. People love to tell us about how it's all going, and that makes our day.
Thank you so much, Carolyn, for coming and to the Pawsome Companion podcast, where people can find all the information in RSPCA website, or where else can...
So just go onto our website, rspcasa.org.au. You'll find all the information about the animals available to adopt, fostering, volunteering opportunities as well. There's everything on that site.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Pawsome Companion. If you have any further questions for our experts, feel free to leave them in the show notes or reach out to me directly. And if you are a pet expert who would love to contribute to this podcast, we will be thrilled to hear from you. Don't forget to follow us, and if you enjoyed today's episode, we will really appreciate a 5-star review. Thanks again, and we will see you at the next episode.